Kings, queens, and everyone in between, welcome back to Gears and Queers. I'm Chris, and today I'm driving a 2023 Lexus LC500h. H stands for hybrid, write that down. No, this is not the naturally aspirated V8 that we all know and love. This is a 3.5 liter V6, non-turbo, naturally aspirated, but paired with two electric motors as part of Lexus's multi-stage hybrid system. So what does that mean? Because it sounds interesting. This is different than the other Lexus and Toyota hybrids, but still kind of the same. You may have heard that this car has a 10-speed transmission, which is a CVT, combined with a 4-speed planetary gear set. And the reason I'm using air quotes is because it's not quite that simple, but we'll get to that in a second. So it's a 3.5 liter V6, naturally aspirated, makes 295 horsepower on its own, but can have an extra 59 horsepower routed along with it via the electric motors. Two of them. One of them is primarily a starter/generator, and the other one is primarily giving you extra power. Interestingly, this car is only 0.1 seconds slower to 60 than the V8, despite having about 120 less total peak horsepower. The combined output of the hybrid system is 354 horsepower, and I believe 368 pound-feet of torque. The V8 has higher horsepower and torque numbers, yet is only a little bit faster in that very important metric. What's up with that? My professional opinion as a YouTube woman is that the higher RPM power delivery of the gasoline engine, which is a characteristic of performance engines, particularly naturally aspirated ones, pairs really well with that low RPM instant torque of those electric motors. It kind of just feels supercharged, really is the best way I can describe it. Those motors aren't always helping the engine, and the engine's not even always running. It actually is off right now. The RPM is at 0, and I am just cruising along using that electric motor, and this thing is just constantly, if you've ever driven a Lexus hybrid, Toyota hybrid, constantly turning the ICE engine, internal combustion engine, off and back on in such rapid succession that it almost seems bad for it. It is remarkably smooth and remarkably invisible to the driver what is going on, because it's really very fascinating. If you're familiar with Lexus and Toyota hybrid technology, there is what's called a power split device between the engine and the transmission, which comprises itself of planetary gears. Toyota and Lexus call that an eCVT, which is really a bit disingenuous because it's not exactly a CVT. It does not have a band, so it does not have that rubbery feeling that we all know and hate of traditional CVTs. So basically what it does is it is imitating those 10 ratios by a very intelligent, at least in my opinion, control of a final drive ratio, which is that 4-speed planetary box that we all are aware of, and also the planetary ratios in the power split device. All of that to say, it contributes to a really seamless driving experience, and 33 miles per gallon on the highway, which for a 4,400-ish pound car is it's nothing to sneeze at. I believe the city figure is 25, which is the highway figure of the V8. You're really not that much slower than the V8, and you're getting better mileage, but of course, some of us just have to have that V8 sound. The main difference here is that the 6-cylinder engine is really more of a high-pitched scream. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute, because I am riding along a very, very composed, calm street. All that newfangled fancy hybrid technology gets you 33 highway miles per gallon and 26 in the city, which is really not that bad. She carries the weight well. I mean, of course, that low-end torque helps this thing feel like it's moving along pretty quickly. And the transmission shifts, which I'm not really sure you can call that a shift, although it is shifting things around, are so smooth. And when the engine turns itself off and on, you don't really feel it. I mean, of course, there's a very slight feeling, but it's no more harsh than the sensation of a gear change, and that might have even been on purpose. But it's really very well integrated and very impressive, if a bit unsettling when the engine just turns itself off when you're going like 80 miles an hour on the highway. But let's take a moment and talk about how this thing rides. This is, after all, primarily a luxury vehicle, a Grand Tourer. This particular one is on Bridgestone Potenza S001L, if that's the correct way to say that, max performance summer tires, and those were so nice to have because I took this car up to the Tail of the Dragon. That's where I was at this past weekend, and getting there from Atlanta, where I live, was about 3.5 hours, and I have to say, that comfortable touring ride was super well appreciated for that. And even like I took this thing to work 2 days. The roads downtown in Atlanta are not known for their smoothness, and these tires, this suspension, which is of course adaptable and variable, it just works so well together. And you know, part of that is me not being used to driving a car with less than 200,000 miles, but I think a lot of that is just really indicative of how comfortable and just elegant this thing is. Let's go ahead and get the elephant in the room out of the way. This interior. This car is a bespoke build. It has the factory custom order option, which is the only way to get this interior, the Manhattanhenge, which is a nod to the phenomenon in New York City when the sun aligns with the street grid, and during sunset you get beautiful orange and black shadows cast all over the place. I have to emphasize just how much of an occasion it is in this interior. The exterior, atomic silver, I think that's a very beautiful color, but well, we can all admit that it's a little bit neutral. I don't think you can say that this interior is neutral at all. You've got a mix of leather, Alcantara, and other really high quality materials that just, I mean, the color, the richness of it, the brightness of it just makes it feel so exotic and so special. I really just adore it, and it's kind of just not a common interior color. If it was red, it would make sense. A lot of people do red interiors, but orange, and the fact that there's so much of it, like the headliner is Alcantara, it's just beautiful, and I'm obsessed with it, and you should be too. And if you're not, I don't know what to tell you. In addition to that, this car has the sport seats. You can get a luxury version as well that's a little bit more, or a comfort version, which is a little bit more comfortable. Although I have to say that these hug me really well, and I find them to be very comfortable. And on that 3.5-hour road trip in this gorgeous orange interior, I really appreciated that this car has the Mark Levinson sound system, which is a 13-speaker, 915-watt reference audio system, which I have to say, when I first got into the car and I first started playing music, I was a little underwhelmed. As soon as you start turning up the volume, you realize just how clear it can be at unsafe volumes. And there is really just a lot of power, a lot of clarity. The bass from the subwoofer in the back seat is really tight, and there is a fair amount of bass. But if you're an individual who likes their music to have a lot more drama, you may not find it as appealing. Although I have to say, it is really very fantastic, and I don't say that about a lot of newer audio systems in cars that I drive. I don't know why they are so bad, but this one really is very good. I have to admit that, and I have to put my foot in my mouth about that one. In addition to that, in this interior, we also have this heads-up display, which is optional. You get these gorgeous magnesium shift paddles, which remind me of the magnesium ones that were in my Infiniti G35. Of course, those were column mounted. These are steering wheel mounted. I haven't really even been playing with them that much. In Sport Plus, this thing is just very responsive. You even like twitch your right foot, and it is changing the ratio for you to get you something a little bit more fun. So rounding out this interior, I have to say, this being a 2023, it still has the CD player. I have so many CDs. I have 5 Madonna ones in the car with me right now, but they're dropping that for 2024. The infotainment, which we have a 10.3-inch screen here, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the infotainment's getting a serious upgrade for the 2024 model year, and the touchpad laptop style controller is going away. So many people have a lot of opinions about that. I actually happen to think it's really not that difficult. The thing that I find most infuriating about the infotainment is that I do have to go through the infotainment using the touchpad to adjust the heated seats and the ventilated seats. We have hard buttons for temperature and fan speed, and even that cute little digital readout that Lexus and Toyota have been doing for decades at this point, which is very well appreciated. I just wish we also had dedicated buttons for the heated and ventilated seats. But oh well. So moving on to the exterior, part of that bespoke build package, this car has the optional carbon fiber roof, which is beautiful, but does mean that you have to skip the sunroof, which is standard. And I do love a sunroof, but you get a lot more orange, so love that. This particular example also has the carbon fiber rear spoiler, which has a very interesting detail at the corners. And I have to admit, I thought it was kind of goofy looking at first, but with the black forged wheels, which are also an option, the 21 inchers, and the carbon fiber roof, this car just really does look good in its current configuration. And I think that the more modest atomic silver paint paired with the carbon fiber and the orange really just makes this a very amusing specification. And one thing about me is that I love things that are amusing and playful, so I am smitten with this car. Since it is the bespoke build and it is a hybrid, which is already pretty rare, and the fact that it has this orange interior, this is, I have to think, such a rare specification, and probably you will probably not see another car exactly like this one or even really similar to this one, which I guess is the point. You do get that Lexus LC Bespoke Edition badge right ahead of the shifter. You get a certificate of authenticity with it. There's no like numbering or anything like that because they're not all the same, but you get your own little piece of a paper or something there that tells you got your own special little car, and that's cool. I was so not prepared for how many heads this thing turns. This is a design that came out a few years ago, but these things aren't exactly, the LC isn't exactly common, and there really is something just so concept car-esque about the exterior. People who don't even know much about cars recognize that this is a special vehicle. And of course those taillights with that mirror reflective situation going on there are just so cool. The triple beam headlights, I love the turn signals. It really just is a gorgeous and striking vehicle that I have to say looks way more aggressive than it actually is. Oh, we're first at the red light. You know what that means. Engine sound time. They're all gonna think I'm an idiot. A screamer, not a rumbler. Dare we do launch control? We dare. It's not even that fast, it's just fun. Perhaps the least surprising thing I'll have said this entire time is that I coordinated an entire outfit to this Manhattanhenge interior. I had tiger stripe shorts, the Lexus t-shirt, which I promptly cut in half after I got it, and had my neighbor Bedazzle, the same neighbor who does my nails, and just stood next to the car in high heels. Jake Thievis of Out Motorsports was there doing the same with the Corvette, the C8 Corvette, and it was just such a blast and just so befitting of how silly and just amazing this car is and this specification. I can shout numbers at you all day long, but I think the best description of the general vibe of my time with this car is just at the tail of the dragon, at Pride of the Dragon, and shout out to everybody involved. That was such an amazing event. Met so many new people, saw so many familiar faces, just truly special. I took so many people on rides up and down the mountain. You know, we're on those performance tires, we're blasting Madonna from a compact disc on this Mark Levinson stereo, just having a great time in a special car that dances and handles way better than it should. Truly just what a magnificent and special experience that was, and I'm so glad that I got to share it with other people. And that being said, thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. I already told you to like, share, and subscribe, but if you didn't, please consider supporting your potentially favorite queer automotive YouTuber, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. There is no way that anybody else has put a CD in this car except for me. Okay, we turn you off now. Bye. That is not the button. I cannot touch the button. My nails are too long to touch the button. Oh my God. Is that the button? Oh.